The Dakar Rally is one of the toughest rally races on Earth, with bikes, cars and trucks tackling the elements to set the fastest time in an epic endurance race. Despite its enduring popularity, Dakar is underrepresented in racing games, with only 2 games released based on the legendary race within the last 5 years. The most recent, Dakar Desert Rally, has benefited from a longer development time from developers Saber Porto, allowing them to fully realise their vision of making the most authentic Dakar game ever. Even so, there are elements of the game that we're still not fans of, and so I'm Mark from Racing Games, and here's everything we hate about Dakar Desert Rally. Let's start by talking about accessibility. Dakar 18, Dakar Desert Rally's predecessor, was criticised for its steep learning curve. Dakar Desert Rally does fix this to an extent, with the all-new Sport mode designed to act as a tutorial-style arcade mode for new players. This all sounds great, but then you take a look at the accessibility options and it all falls apart. The game has no way of changing the AI difficulty, enabling vehicle assists, or switching off damage to reduce the difficulty. This means players are stuck with the game's default settings, meaning if you hit a rock head-on, you're out. If you flip your car, truck or bike on a ramp, you're out. And if you drive too deep into the water, you guessed it. There's another issue with the water, but we'll come back to that in a moment. More problematic than the options is the vehicle handling. Cars feel responsive on a DualSense controller for the most part, but do lose grip far too easily. This results in situations where it's impossible to recover if you oversteer and spin out of control into the nearest rock, even with countersteer and lifting off the throttle. This also applies to the bikes and ATVs, but not the heavyweight trucks. These feel more stable, enjoyable to drive and satisfyingly weighty. Unfortunately, switching to a wheel doesn't improve the driving experience. Using a supported Thrustmaster wheel, the slightest input turns the wheel full lock even after changing the settings, whereas Logitech wheels reportedly lack force feedback and Fanatec wheels are not supported at the time of recording. Saber Porto is working to improve wheel compatibility and fix these issues in a patch update, but right now Dakar Desert Rally's wheel support leaves a lot to be desired. Before we move on, have you subscribed to Racing Games yet? Just one click and you're on the Racing Games grid. Oh, and hit that notification bell too so you never miss an upload. Alright, on with the video. So about the water, the game looks great and we'll cover that in our next video, but the beauty of the game does come at a cost. On PS5, Dakar Desert Rally suffers from performance issues, even in performance mode. Stutters are particularly noticeable when driving through water or battling with multiple on-screen opponents. It's not game-breaking as such, but the driving doesn't feel smooth as a result, with the unstable frame rate frequently dropping below 60 FPS in performance mode. This is not ideal at the best of times, let alone in a game that requires lightning-fast reactions to avoid crashing out of one of the most grueling races on Earth. It's also not great that even current-gen consoles are struggling to render the game at a smooth frame rate, never mind the old-gen consoles chugging their way through each race. We're hoping for a future patch to fix this issue, but for now we recommend playing in resolution mode, which locks the game at 30 FPS, ironically offering a more stable frame rate than performance mode. The scenery does also get a little repetitive, but I know we're nitpicking on this one, considering the game does take place in the Saudi Arabian deserts. It's not like you'll find yourself suddenly racing through a city stage in the middle of nowhere after all. Finally, we come to the game's content. This might actually be the shortest part of the video, as there isn't much to talk about. Disappointingly, the revolutionary roadbook editor where you create and share your own stages is absent at launch, as is the free roam mode and custom events. Even features like a livery editor, replays and a photo mode are being held back. These features will be added in a future update, but it leaves Dakar Desert Rally feeling incomplete despite its extended development time. Sport mode does help new players through the learning process, and there are the professional and simulation modes that remove the game's beacons, racing lines and save points, giving players the true endurance racing experience that you'd find with the real Dakar. These modes do also adjust the AI difficulty, meaning yes, you can technically change the game's difficulty, but doing so comes at the cost of also disabling respawns, so we'll leave that choice up to you. Besides all that, there isn't that much for players to do. Perhaps with the future patches there will be more content for us to enjoy, but for now, the game does feel almost as empty as the environment the Dakar actually races in. So that's everything we hate about Dakar Desert Rally. Now it does sound like we hate the game entirely, but actually there are a few good redeeming factors, so be sure to check out our follow-up video on everything we love about Dakar Desert Rally later this week. For now though, thanks for watching. I've been Mark from Racing Games, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and now I'm off to finally get the rest of the sand out of my shoes. Honestly, you crash once in the desert and you end up bringing it all home with you.